All right, we continue. And now we're going back. Uh, yesterday we finished the Perek, but we skipped one pasuk that we're going to go back to, which is pasuk lamed bet. Lamed bet. Perek tet zayin pasuk lamed bet. Okay, this is a pasuk that I wanted to dedicate a little bit more time to because of its complexity and the different layers of Hidushim in it. So the Shlomo HaMelech says the following: Tov erech hapayim migibor. Okay, so you're better off being forbearing than being a gibor, being a mighty. Yes, being strong. Umoshel berucho milo ked'ir, and control your instinct, self-control, okay, better than conquering a city. So obviously, the Pshat HaPashut here is that Shlomo HaMelech is saying, guess what? You're better off controlling yourself than reacting, right? That being proactive. Loked ir is conquering a city, yes, or sieging a city, yeah, or gibor. Both are proactive reactions. So we're telling you you're better off to retain yourself than to be engaging. But we have to understand in what case. So the Gaon says the following. What's the definition of a gibor? What's the definition of a gibor? A gibor, somebody that is strong, mighty, is somebody that imposes upon someone else, his will through strength. That's a gibor. To the point where now the person that has been under the control of the gibor is aligned with the stronger one. Yes, and he will follow the direction and the will of the strong one. Ken? That's the definition of a gibor. Lo ked'ir, somebody that sieges and conquers a city. What is it? Is someone that will siege, that will surround the city, and through strategy and chokhmah and pikhut will know how to weaken the city from within until they are now vulnerable, and they have to come to the table and make a deal, or face consequences. That's lo ked'ir. So one is coming, the gibor is the application of strength, practical and physical strength, yes. And the lo ked'ir is strategy, tahbulot, okay? בתחבולות תעשה לך מלחמה. With the Yetzirah, you have to be smart and outsmart, yes, your enemy in order to win your war. So says says Shlomo HaMelech, right? Greater is the one that is erech hapayim than the gibor, than the one that imposes his will on others through strength. And so too, greater is the one that has self-control over the one that uses his tahbulot, his strategy, yes, to manipulate and force the person, yes, to come to the table and do his will. Yes, these are this is what this. Let me say what Shlomo HaMelech says. The Gaon, this applies to the milchama that a man has with himself. He says when a person is facing the two fundamental challenges of midot that we've addressed many times, which are what? Ka'as and ta'ava. Yes? We've spoken about it many times, that the root of all the not good midot stem or from ka'as, or from anger, or come because of the ta'ava, of the desires. Yes? And these midot are the reason why a person cannot grow and cannot evolve and cannot develop himself spiritually and in his own self-growth. Ka'as, let's analyze each one. Ka'as is essentially, right, what does the ka'as brings out? The ka'as essentially neutralizes the organs of the body. When a person is angry, yes, his body contracts, and now he loses control over his body. That's why when somebody gets angry, it can be physically violent, because what the ka'as does is to now, yes, take over the organs of the body. That's ka'as. And more so, the body has no hana'ah, has no benefits from this ka'as. Yes, when a person gets angry, to the contrary of ta'avot, yes, but when a person gets angry, he physically doesn't get any benefit from that anger. So in order to overcome the anger, which is a burning fire that can like that almost paralyzes, yes, the control over your body, you need an influx of gvura. You need to be a gibor, like we say, Ezeu gibor kovesh et Yisro. You need gvura. You need a proactive engagement, yes, of and impose your way on that emotion. What does that mean? Yes, you have to rise above the awakening about the emotion of anger. Yes, and while you are aware of the anger, yes, find the power to control that anger and choke it and minimize it. Why? Because who is controlling now the anger, yes, is the greater me. Yes? Usually when a person gets angry, he loses his dat, right? Because he's me'abed dato, he doesn't think anymore. So you have to be a gibor. What does that mean? You have to enforce the way of the sechel. You have to enforce the derech, right? Ayashar, onto that emotion that is called the ka'as, and now control it and contain it. So, and that this can only be done with givua. Meaning, you cannot deal with anger when the anger is turned on if it's not by being a gibor. To the opposite of what? Of strategy, meaning you cannot use the strategy of Loked Ir, of sieging a city with anger. That doesn't work. Anger is approached with gvura, with yourself, yes? So, yes, so now we know what is a gibor. We know now that we have two roots of negative midot within us, the ka'as and the ta'ava, and we've explained that the gevura is coming to deal with the ka'as. Ta'ava, ta'ava comes from the ruach ha'adam. We have the ruach, nefesh, ruach, and shama. Yes, the nefesh is like we explained many times, what the Ari HaKadosh says, yes, is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will for physicality to exist. The ruach is the hybrid between the spirituality and the physicality. And in that hybrid is born, yes, the nuances of of emotions and traits and midot. That's why you always have to be modedet. You always have to calibrate it, because it's pulled in two directions. On one end, it has an essence of physicality. On another hand, it has an essence of spirituality. Yes. So the ta'avot, says the Gaon, where do they come from? And they all come from the ruach. Now, the ta'ava was given essentially and originally, yes, to satisfy the body so that the body can exist. Yes, originally the core essence of the ta'avot is called ta'avot kiyumiyot, like the Ari HaKadosh calls it. Yes, you have a desire to eat, because if you never had a desire to eat, you wouldn't eat, you would die. You have a desire to reproduce. Why? Because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't reproduce. Right? We know the maaseh of Knesset Knesset HaGedolah, right? When they annulled the ta'ava of Avodah Zarah, then they wanted to annul the ta'ava of reproduction, of arayot, but then they saw that the chicken would not even reproduce. So they said, no, that's kiyumi, so we have to bring it back. Yes? Although we said it many times, the Midrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave two Yetzer Hara, one Gadol, one Katan, and the Yetzer Hara Katan is the Ta'avot. Is the Ta'ava of Arayot. Okay. But the Ta'ava, so the Ta'ava, yes, is something that essentially is needed, yes. But the problem is that since nobody really controls it properly or knows how to address it for a purpose that is kiyumi, that is existential, yes. Therefore, it's an exaggerated version of the ta'ava, which leads people to make averot to each their own way. So says the Gaon, if the ta'ava is fundamentally needed for existence, yes, but it overflows, you cannot use gevura, because if you control and you choke it, then there's no longer a positive outcome from it, because you can gibor is making you do what I want. Yes, you cannot say that to the ta'ava, because the ta'ava on its own has a good purpose. So, but when it comes to ta'ava, says the Gaon, the Shlomo HaMelech says, look at here, you have to use strategy. You have to use your sechel. You have to use tahbulot. You have to know how to manipulate your desire, yeah, your ta'ava, so that you know when to use it and you know when to refrain. But you cannot choke it completely. Says the Gaon, we know. And why is that? Why is that even a challenge? Because Yud Gimel Shana, Kadam Yetzer HaTov LeYetzer Hara, Yetzer Hara LeYetzer HaTov, right? And the Ta'avot start from the birth of a person. For 13 years, the person, says the Gaon, yes, is developing the ta'avot, and through those ta'avot, he's expressing his need to exist. Whether it's through eating, when we're a little kid, and then after that it's from eating to wanting to eat sweets, and from it to eat what we like and not eat what we don't like, and when we want. So for 13 years the ta'ava is being cultivated. If that's the case, then how can you later on start differentiating yourself from that ta'ava? you start to identify yourself through that ta'ava. And now that ta'ava, it will dictate your behavior because it's so part of you since you're born that it's extremely difficult to now to differentiate the ta'ava from yourself. That is a challenge. Therefore, the gevurah also will not work. That's another reason why it's because how can you choke yourself from yourself? So you have to use strategy to slowly unwind the issue and recognize that, hey, 1 second, yes, some of the ta'avot I can live with, others I can get rid of. This only comes through the sechel, through the tahmula. A third issue you have with the ta'ava is that the ta'ava, the body actually enjoys it. So now also you have to learn how to detach the pleasure of the the physical pleasure of the ta'ava that you want to get rid of. Yeah. So number one, you need to be able to identify the difference between the existential desire versus the pleasure. Number two, yes, you have to be able to distinct and detach yourself from the pleasure so you can actually identify which one is good and what one isn't. And number three, you have to learn on how to how to deal with the pleasure the body gets from that those ta'avot. So the ta'ava comes and wraps up the person from three different angles because it's so tight, it's so close to the person. Yes. Yeah. So you need to address the ta'ava from three different angles. Where kaas, anger, mapitom. We know that anger is bad. We know that anger is damaging to the body. Therefore, I have to use the strength and go head to head against it and control it from the beginning. This is why also, when you think about it, yes, if you impose on someone, yes, to choke his ta'ava, it always comes back. And it comes back twofold. Always. Always. But if you slowly go, then you can overcome it. You cannot cut cold turkey at ta'ava. It doesn't work. So says now that we have those parameters and we understand, yes, this concept, now the Gaon plugs back in everything into the Pasuk. He says like this, Tov erech haim, you're better off being erech hapaim, yes, have patience and be calm, than to be a gibor, because a gibor you go to war. Like, you understand? Why do you need to be a gibor to control your cars? Be erech hapaim and you're done. Yes. Why have a good lawyer to fight when you can solve yourself not from having even a lawsuit? Moshe ruho milo kedair, and have self-control. Yes, you're better off than having to siege a city. Meaning, you're better off with being always in control than having to now do tahbunot with the ta'avot. That's what Shlomo HaMelech is coming to teach us. That instead of finding a solution to the problem, learn how to make sure there's no problem. How do you deal with these two core essence problems in the Nefesh HaAdam, Ka'as and Ta'ava, Erech HaPaim, and Moshel Berucho? Have learned to be Erech HaPaim, to have patience, to believe in time, and believe in the concept of marathon. Life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you understand that, then it will be much harder to get upset. because you give more chances. You know that time can work in your favor. So instead of poking the bear, yes, with your chokhmah and your patience, you'll get to the outcome that you want. That's when it comes to kas. And when it comes to ta'ava, moshel berucho, have self-control. But not only for ta'ava, in everything. When you have self-control and you know how to hold yourself back and when to do something and when not to do something, then you're ahead of the curve when it comes to the ta'avot. And who essentially also applied this that we learned about is Rabbi Yerucham. Yes, like we learned in Pirkei Kinyan Hadat, in the introduction. So this is I think a very fundamental lesson that Shlomo Melech is coming to teach us when it comes to to address those challenges in our lives. The Kaas versus the Ta'ava. Two different approach in order to or deal with the problem. That's what the Gaon teaches us. Or neutralize the problem me'ikara, and that's what Shlomo Melech is coming to teach us. Another layer of the Hidush is that Moshel Berucho, to be in control, have self-control, it does not only apply to actions. Essentially, you have to rise it to a higher level, which is Moshel Berucho Bedibur. You have to learn to be also have self-control of your speech. That's another behavior that people fail to think about so much. Why? People, whatever comes in their head, they say. Yes? And essentially, when you move them, when they're very happy or they're upset or they're sad, they're going to start saying and opening and talking when they should really learn to be in control over their speech, over their dibur. So says the Gaon, the pasuk again. The Gemara says, "Heve zair beruchacha." Be careful with your ruach. Which ruach are we talking about? He says it's the dibur. It's talking about be careful with your speech. So when you're careful with your speech, then you're better off than a loked ha'ir. Because of what's a loked ha'ir? A loked ha'ir is somebody that has to now fix, yes, a problem of his speech. He says something, now he has to do tahbulot on how to fix it and how to get rid of it. Milechatila, shut your mouth and you don't have any problems. Or know when to talk. So says the Gaon, you are better off. You are better off learning to control not only your reactions but also your dibur, your speech, than a loked ha'ir, than a strategy. Now we would think that that's the absolute level, but yet there is a higher level. Says now the Gaon, it's okay. We've addressed the dibur, we've addressed the maaseh, but there's also the mahashava, the thought, that also needs self-control. Why? He wants to say because le maaseh, every word or every action, yes, has a root in the mahshava, has a root in the thought. Yes, there's a thought that triggered that behavior somewhat. So if you fix the action and you fix the dibur, but you didn't fix the mahshava, you still carry the same problem. You're still a loked ha'ir. You have to be a loked ha'ir. So says Shlomo HaMelech, or says the Gaon, the kavana amuka, the deep lesson that Shlomo HaMelech is coming to teach us when he says umoshel berucho, is be at a level where you able to control your thoughts. Now, controlling your thoughts is not so simple. Yes, the Rambam in Sefer HaMoreh says that it took him a long time, yes, to have to be able to be mechaven, to have the right kavanah when he said Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So the avodah, the work of controlling your thoughts, is a work that starts when you're at that level but never ends. All your life, you can perfect that muscle, that strength of controlling your thoughts. And when you learn to control your thoughts, automatically you control your emotion, you control your instinct, you control your actions. But if that's the case, then why didn't the Gaon go straight to the Mahashava? The Gaon should have went straight to the control of the thought, teach you that this is what you have to control, and then you're all good. By controlling your thought, you can control everything else. The answer, I think, is pashut. It's because you cannot get to a level of controlling your thought if you didn't control your action and you didn't control your dibur. It's only once you've built, yes, those layers that you can elevate yourself to the level of the koach hamachshava and the control of the machshava.
Se le quedó sin batería. O lo pagas.
So in that pasuk, yes, we have those three hidushim: machshava, dibur, and asiya. That's regarding Moshel Berucho. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the pasuk, Tov erech hapayim migibor, what did we say? How does a gibor takes? How a gibor wins his duel? By imposing through strength his will, and the stronger is the one that wins. That's the gibor. So, says the Gaon, when you use gevurah to annihilate and kill your opponent. Like we explained, yes? This is the way to address the chaos. The chaos is a fight, yes, that basically will have one standing up at the end of the fight. It's or the chaos wins or you win. That's when that's when the person faces the chaos. So when you address chaos, you have to know that if you don't overcome the chaos will end up eating you alive, will consume you. Says the Gaon, if you don't understand that, then you have the right approach to fight the chaos. That's if you have to be a gibor. Shlomo HaMelech tells us you're better off being erech hapayim than a gibor. But if you already have to be a gibor, then and you have chaos, then know how to deal with it through gvura, and it's or you or the chaos for me. But both of us cannot coexist. And Adam dar im nahash b'kfifa achat. You cannot coexist with the nahash. It's not possible. You cannot coexist with the chaos. Where the ta'ava, like we said, yes, the moshel berucho, the loked eir. Loked eir is When you come and you see the city, essentially what you come and conquer the city. You conquer the city so that you can benefit from that city. So you need the people from the city. You cannot kill them all. So you have to learn, you have to be able to win the war without killing them or killing all the people. So you have to find a strategy, yes, to control it and keep it alive so that it services your purpose. Says the Gaon, the ta'ava, the approach of the ta'ava is to understand that the ta'ava need to exist. They were given for a purpose, but they have to serve your purpose. Where in general, what happens is that people, yes, are erased in front of their ta'ava. The ta'ava controls them. The ta'ava defines them. The ta'ava molds and shapes their life. Says the Gaon, when it comes to the ta'ava, when you have to deal with ta'ava, two things. It's essential, but it serves my purpose. So he says that's why Shlomo HaMelech says Moshel Berucho. Because a Moshel, what's a Moshel? Moshel is a ruler. Yes? A ruler a king cannot be a king without the people. You're only a king if you have people that follow you and that listen to you. So too, the ta'ava. The ta'ava, if you don't have ta'ava, you're dead. So you need the ta'ava, but you need to control the ta'ava like a people follow their king. You are the king, and the ta'ava are the people's it represents the people serving the king. Rabbi David El-Alouf, Yizacher Letov, added on this pasuk a chidush from Rav Wolbe, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. What is Shlomo HaMelech coming to tell us? That there is no room for chaos, for anger in someone's existence. That's really the punchline. Yes? That's the beginning of the pasuk. What does that mean? And that's where it's important. Rav Wolbe said, you cannot be mechanech your children if chaos, anger coexists with you. Why? Because if you have anger and you try to teach and educate your children, you will educate them and teach them also to be angry. Because the anger is not something you control. It controls you. And if you are an angry person, yes, your children will pick up that it's okay to be angry. So essentially, you're teaching them how to be angry. So says Rav Wolbe, Shlomo HaMelech come to teach us why you need to uproot the anger, because the root of chinuch, of kaas, is from the parents. Now, you have some children that might be more sensitive to it, others that might be less sensitive to it, but the kaas is a sickness that is transmitted by the parents' behavior. That's the Hidush of Rav Wolbe in this pasuk. So says Shlomo HaMelech, if you want to be a mechanech, you cannot coexist with anger. It's not possible. Therefore, Tov erech hapayim. And that's probably one of the most essential lessons of chinuch we can take today, because we're always challenged by the behavior of the kids. Yes, we see a generation that behave we would never imagine to even think of behaving in when we were young. And the speed of the pace of the way things are going is, like somebody showed me. Now they're teaching. They're saying that whoever is 40 years older and old, they don't know how to use AI. They use AI like they use Google. But in reality, you should learn how to use AI the right way, right? That we're so behind in technology and in the pace of technology. And for the children, it's like for dummies that they're born in it, that it's extremely difficult to deal with them. They're like if we had one generation to another with our parents, they're like 10 generations down. That's how fast they go. So to deal with them, to deal with the children, it requires a tremendous amount of patience. This is ma'u rachum afata rachum. Erech hapayim ma'u erech hapayim afata erech hapayim. This generation is a generation where we must be extremely patient and learn how valuable time is, and through that infuse the unconditional love, the rahmanut, and so and teach the children how to grow properly without the influence that's surrounding them. So if we come to resume what I take out from this pasuk is that the only way to be able to be mechanech today starts by an essential control and fight against the chaos. If somebody's asking you, how can I teach my kids and how can I be mechanech properly, the answer is learn to control your anger. Choke your anger, and by default you'll know how to educate your kids, because you'll become an erech hapayim, and when you're erech hapayim, there is now the opportunity to infuse your children with the right values and the right messages. This is pasuk lamed bet lev pasuk lev Baruch Hashem. And with that, Siyata Dishmaya, we've completed Perek Tet Zayin. I'm going to read pasuk Aleph so that we don't עומד על הפרק, לקיים עמוד על הפרק. כן, טוב בת חרבה ושלווה בה מבית מלא זיו חריף. You're better off with bread and נחת רוח and calmness than having all the wealth in מחלוקת. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this is going to be the next pasuk. Tov, any questions?
Beautiful.
מצוין, תודה.
באהבה. טוב.
Thank you.
מחילה for the delay.
Thank you, Rabbi. It was beautiful as usual.